This conference will now be recorded.
Hi guys, good evening. This is Suresh here.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening guys. Good evening one and all. Okay, so guys, in our session yesterday, we have been discussing on the data, the way how the foundation object data uploads will happen. MDF foundation objects data uploads will happen. We have been looking at that. We even practically uploaded and saw the data. And next thing is the employee data imports. So in regard to employee data, so we just started discussing on the types of data objects that will be required to upload during the employee data imports and the sequence of imports that we are required to follow, all that. So let me just open that document once again. So basically it's the 6 templates that we are required to load for a data imports, a minimum 6, which will make an employee actually created in the SuccessFactors system. Instead of a user to call him as an employee, you have that minimum 6, out of which the first file will just create the user, and the balance 5 files will basically upload 5 different portlets: biographical portlet, employment portlet, job history portlet, like this. These are all the 5 other portlets which are core EC specific portlets. And after that, whatever are the other portlets we have, email IDs, phone numbers, national IDs, address details, anything, it's all optional. If a customer has the data and if they're able to provide the data, we can upload. Else, not mandatory in employee central perspective, but end of the day, if a customer is using SuccessFactors as their primary HR, definitely they would give a majority of the data. So that is with respect to the things that we have discussed yesterday. So before we get into the activities of today, any specific questions anybody has from the yesterday's upload process? Okay, so now to work on the employee data imports, guys, let's go for the admin center. So here in the admin center, I have shown you for the employee data imports, we are required to go to the same old option called import employee data, where we used to basically upload the minimum basic information, the mini master data of the users, just to create user IDs in the system. Same place even for employee central, that is the same first file, basic import file we'll start with, and we'll also proceed with the other files. So for this, in this screen now, here we have the import data where we can have the other template, second template as a biographical, third one as employment details, next as job, compensation, all these files we have in this dropdown. So first we are required to start with the basic import. So file format is the question. So file format for basic import, guys, in our initial introduction to mastery level sessions, we already discussed about it, where we can export the existing template where already with minimum, even if there are only one user or basic 4 or 5 users in the system, you can first export the file. At least even initially at the starting of the project, if you think there are only consultant IDs, even with that consultant ID, system will download a file. In that we can maintain additional records and upload back into the SuccessFactors system. So that is what we initially discussed here under employee export. Here is the one, export user file. Okay, so using this we used to download, and the file what we used to see is the same, where we can also download through this option. Here we have a download template option. So if you go for the download template, SuccessFactors will give us an option to download the template for any employee central file that you are going to upload. So if I want to upload the basic import file, so get that download that import template of it, basic import, and on the right hand bottom corner you have generate template. Just click on it. System will download the basic template, which is just the template with no users. On this file, we are very much aware of it, how to use it. So just we can create the users, how many users you want. You can maintain all these mandatory fields. So till minimum HR manager and HR columns, these are the minimum required columns. After that, leaving these in between fields, you can directly go for where you say the default locale as one more field. Here the default language, you can maintain the login language. And then the last at ending, you have some assignment ID fields. We can maintain some assignment ID fields here. Whatever is the same user ID we have given, we can repeat it in the assignment ID and we can start creating the users. So we used to see this in the initial introduction to mastery level. The same thing repeats for the employee central imports also as the first action. So let me start filling this template with some user and let's see how the upload process happen. So active user, of course, user ID. So let me just keep it as demo underscore March. Record demo underscore March as a just a user ID I'm giving. The same as username as well, the login name, where user ID is what we consider as the employee number and success factors, which will be alphabetic, alphanumeric, or purely numeric also, anyways. And here is where I'm just giving it as upload user March. First name is upload, middle name is user, last name is March. Upload user March is what I'm giving. Job title as test user as a job title. Some gender as male, email ID, some email ID this way. And till here, this is all the very basic information. First name, last name, email ID, gender, job title, all this. Manager and HR are something that is important to be noted, as we initially discussed in the previous sessions also. Here system will accept any other user's ID, whomever you want to maintain as a manager. Say example for Suresh, Ramesh is the manager. Ramesh's ID is what you are required to give, not the name as Ramesh. So for every user, whatever is the ID that you are required to tag. Okay, so if there is an employee called Mr. Naresh, his number is 1234. That 1234 is what you are required to enter, not the name as Naresh. That is it. And if you don't know who is the manager, you are required to use this no underscore manager as a standard string. You are not supposed to keep it blank. If you keep this columns blank without any input, system will throw you an error. It's a mandatory fields. Either you have to maintain the manager and HR numbers or completely maintain it as the standard strings, no underscore manager, no underscore HR. As of now, if you don't know, you can do it like this. Later on, whenever you know the manager or HR, you can update them and re-upload the file. Okay, so till here are minimum considered fields. Other fields, employee, division, department, location, all these we need not fill here. The reason for this we'll understand by either today or the next sessions. We'll sometime have a clarity on it. Why we are skipping these fields, how will system update these fields later, I'll show you. So after this, the next important field is the default locale. That is, whenever this user is created and he's logging into the system. So when he logs the system, what is the first language in which he'll see the system? So we have multiple languages activated in the system. Out of 43, we have activated 14 languages. Out of 14, which language he'll see the system on the day one? Either in English or Hindi or Arabic, whatever. So that is the default language we are required to give. And copying this user ID. At last, after the language code language field is done, go to the extreme right, and here you enter the same ID again here under the ID fields. At the ending, you have in this file, in this system, there are all the three ID fields. Whatever you find, you can give the same things. Person ID, external, onboarding ID, assignment ID, whatever. Just repeat them. As I told you earlier, these columns are purely used for the integration purposes. So this is not something for internal success factors related thing. When the success factors is being integrated with other systems, the middleware systems will refer to these columns. So that's why we maintain this. That's just a copy paste thing. So this way we can maintain a user, not only one user. If you want to maintain at a time 10, 100, any number of users, you can upload. And here in the import employee data, go for import data this time.
We have not maintained the hire date of the employee.
Yeah, here in this even highlight is not mandatory in the first part. Okay, so we have hire date coming as mandatory in the next files. I'll just show you. So basic import file I have chosen. Only columns, guys. Only the columns A to M is what we require initially, and then the language column, this language column AD, and the last ID columns. That's it. Okay. So I selected the file, basic import, and now if I click on import on the right hand bottom corner, system is going to take the entire file. Either it is one record or it is 1,000 records in this file. It will take the entire file, whatever attachment I have given here. It will take the entire file into the server. It will internally process the things and it will post the results. Okay, so where it will internally process whether all the mandatory fields are filled in, whether for that field what kind of should be given, that is only given. Okay, and then it will upload it internally by creating a background job, and after the execution you will get you will receive a log email on your mail address saying that this upload has been successful. Out of 100 records, 90 are successful. Errors, what are the errors, all that it will give us. Okay, I'm not sure it's loading a lot of time. Stone. Not sure. Let me just re-upload it. That's it. So this is how your file has been loaded to the server successfully and will be examined for proper text file formats, all the mandatory conditions, everything. And you'll receive an email notification generated by the system once the file processing is completed and the data upload is done as per your request is what it says. Okay. So now that ID, whatever we have maintained here, first that ID will be created in the system. So it hardly takes 2 minutes max. Yeah, now even before less than, because it's only one record in the file, it got immediately created. Upload user March, first name, middle name, last name, the username, login name, job title, email address, whatever many master data that we have given. With that, a user is ready. So now if I user open this profile, okay, so I'll open it here, separate tab. So now if a user open this profile, you see that only this header information, whatever we have given through this mini master file, only that will be available. The rest, all parts of the people profile, what has been created, will be completely blank because we haven't given any other data except the first name, last name, gender, basic, very basic information. Even manager HR also I did not give. I just kept as no underscore HR. So with this basic details, user got created, and all the other portlets, if you see, personal information, biographical information, everything are blank. They represent no data, no data, no data like this. Only this basic information fields are what we uploaded. Username, first name, last name, address. Anybody has any question? So this way, only this basic user information is what we loaded, and that's
Suresh, I
it.
have question.
Please.
Yeah. Why there is no full upload purge? What option we had yesterday? You mentioned na, like partial and all. Why
Exactly.
don't we have for employee data?
We don't have it for, we have it for employee data also, but not for this file. For the initial 3 files, whatever we have in the sequence system, we don't have a option to where is that presentation? Yeah, for these initial 3 files there is no purge option. That is what they say is here the user got created. Once user got created, if you want to remove, the only option you have is inactive. Make him inactive, not to delete. It's not a simple data, it's a employee information. Okay, they say user once created, his data can be changed or it can be made inactive. You can't remove a user from completely from the database. That is where SAP kind of software's level, you have the complete audit. You just can't completely remove somebody from the database. Once you got a user created, you can maximum make him inactive. Completely you can't clean up from the system of success factors. Okay, so that's why they don't give purge here. In the other template, from the third template, they start giving the purge. If you want to complete, you have made some mistakes in the data. If you want to completely correct it and upload back and all, you. But these first files, you cannot. The first 3 things. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. And second question is, you mentioned about manager details and HR details. We have to give user ID, right?
Yes.
What if I give some dummy number or dummy user ID? Will
It
it
will throw
still
an
be
error.
upload?
It will be here itself. It will be throwing an error. It says invalid manager ID. Invalid manager ID found as a error. It comes up. You can give it right.
Okay.
The ID which is not present in column B in the employee export file in the column B, if that is not present for any other user, that will not be mapped here. Invalid manager ID found is the error that comes up. Okay.
Okay. Fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then after this, as per the sequence, the next file is the biographical information, guys. So now let us see. So from the second file, it's basically to update the portlets. The user got created. For this user, you're required to update the portlets one by one. So biographical information is a portlet you have here. So in this portlet, just the person ID, whatever you have given, only that is there. The other fields, date of birth, country of birth, region of birth, everything is blank. So now through this file, you can update this portlet with few more information, whatever you have. So for biographical information also, to import employee data, we have this biographical information. But to import this, I need the file format. Again, I have an option to go to download template, and here under this, from this time, it's not directly say when you choose basic import, just choose basic import and you go for generate template. But for the from the second template, it says, I will show you the list of fields that are present in this portlet. You choose what all fields you want to be in the front end. I mean, in the upload template. Okay. In that process, so I want to upload the employee's country or region of birth, employee's date of birth. Person ID is what you are required to take, guys, in this person biographical information. User ID itself, again, it will be one more thing you can. User ID can be repeated. Person ID is one required field. Place of birth, region of birth, whatever you want to give, you can give. Whichever columns you want to upload, you can choose that. But make sure you are definitely choosing the mandatory fields. So out of 10 fields in the portlet, if there are 3 mandatory fields, that 3 should be mandatorily taken. Remaining 7 fields, which fields you have the data, only that fields you include into the template. Other fields which you don't have the data, customer is not able to give the data from as of now, then there is no point in even having those fields in the template. So that way it's a very flexible that we can choose what fields to be in the import template. Now these selected fields, I can click on generate template, where with these fields only the system will be generating the template. So this is how the template got generated. Now for the same user where I have just created a user ID for that user, now let me same ID, let me maintain the other fields. So country or region of birth, something as USA. Date of birth, so I want to maintain it as 1st of March 1985 something. Person ID external is the same user ID. And place of birth in US, I kept country as US, right? Let me keep place of birth as some Chicago something randomly. This is how you fill in. Now the date field. Yesterday for the foundation objects, the date field format that you are required to follow is mm/dd/yyyy. This is the format you are supposed to follow. Okay. So now for employee data, it's not constantly any particular format. What it says is in the employee data file, the date format should be the current user who is going to load the system. Say I am going to load it from Anya Singh's login ID. For Anya Singh, what is the current language? In which language is Anya Singh currently using the system? So she is using the system currently in English US. Here in the change language, if I go and see, Anya Singh's current login ID is in English US. In English US, what is the date format that you are supposed to take in the data? Of course, mm/dd/yyyy is the format. If Anya Singh is using the system in English UK, that's the written English. That's what the same we follow in India, which is dd/mm/yyyy. This is right. In employee data templates, it will depend on the person who is uploading the data. As per that person's current login language, for that language, whatever is the date format applicable, that we are required to take. Okay, so currently Anya Singh's login is in English US. So in English US, mm/dd/YYYY is the format to be followed. So just go for format cells. First you enter it in your regular format, what you do, then go for format cells, and using the custom option, the last one custom option, do the changes like mm/dd/YYYY, same like yesterday. That's it. So this is one point to be considered. This way you fill with required fields of data, whatever you are ready with, and here go for import data again. Select the file that you are trying to import, biographical information, file selected, and on the right hand bottom corner. So here it is also suggesting you the date format, guys. So as per the current logged in user, this is a format. If you change your language, going under settings, if you change it to English, you can come to this screen. It will dd/mm/YYY, that way. Okay. So with this file being selected, come on import here. Guys, who is that many times you're logging in and logging on, man? There's a lot of disturbance creating here. Okay, so biographical information, when I clicked on import, so here I have this one record that has been loaded. So from the second file, you have this real-time threshold thing. If the number of records are less than or equal to 10, it will immediately upload and give you the results here. If the number of records are more than 10, system will go to the background process. From there, it will take, it will go in the background job. There it will do all the validations. It will upload it. And once the upload is done, in the monitor job, you can find the result. And also on your email, it will come the result. Same like yesterday's MDF objects. And now it's successfully loaded. Now if we refresh this employee profile, close data, we go for so for this user. Now if I open his profile once again, this time if we navigate to the biographical information portlet, previously we used to have only person ID. Now the date of birth, country of birth, region of birth I did not give, country of birth and the place of birth. So the three fields what additionally I have given, they are available here. So this is the way we can have, just it's all about once you create the user, start filling his profile with one by one, each and every file will fill one portlet. Keep filling them. Okay, so that is the way where we have done this. Second one called biographical information. After this you have employment details. So employment details, let me also show you how does that portlet look like. Here is the employment details portlet. So this employment details portlet level, off of the fields are date fields. Here comes the hire date. The hire date of the employee is required here. Someone previously told me in basic keyboard I did not give it. This is the reason. Here you are required to give it mandatorily. Okay. So by default, whenever as of now when the user got created and there is no hire date given as of now in the first file, system will by default take as Jan 1st 1900. But now whatever is actual hire date, if I upload, it will override that. So the hire date, original start date, seniority start date, service date, professional service date, like this. This is a portlet which will have different kind of dates. Against each and every user, there will be different kinds of dates, gentlemen. So hire date is the actual date of joining. We understand, a pretty straightforward. It requires in any customer system. Other fields are optional. Say original start date is something where Middle East customers regularly ask this. So they need original start date as, so say example, if Qatar, if a company in Qatar issued a visa for some Indian for working in their company in Qatar, then right from the day that person landed in that Qatar country on this company's visa, he's the responsibility of that company actually. In that regard, say example, I landed in on March 1st. My reporting date is on March 5th. So my date of joining is March 5th, but original start date will be the date on which I have arrived in the country. March 1st is what they enter. Since that day, he is responsible on our visa. So whatever he does in the country, we are answerable. kind of. So they ask that particularly original start date, or they'll ask us to relabel it as first arrival date, or arrival date, first arrival date, like this. They'll ask us to relabel it also. So that way, different fields, different date fields are there. So whichever fields will be applicable as per the customer's organization practices, we can use it, and other fields can be removed. Okay. So now here again for this, go for the template, download template. Next, and this is the employment details. In this also, again, the system will display. So the minimum required field system has automatically added. Other fields, whatever you want to take a call, you take a call. So I want the original start date, I want the seniority start date, professional services date, like this, service date, multiple date fields I have taken. I have taken the multiple date fields. With these fields, what I want, I'm generating the template. In that, I'll maintain the data. Other fields I leave blank, like that. So now this is the template. Again, here, same ID. For the same user, you are required to upload this. So user ID is the column here, and hire date is here, like that. So here, if you observe, guys, it's not mandatory that every time user ID should be the first column, and against that other field should be nothing like that. Even if you want to push this user ID to the last place also, you can throw it. It only requires mandatory fields. That's it. If there are 20 fields in the portlet, I am not saying you that all 20 should be in the file. Out of 20, what are mandatory, you make sure. Other fields are optional. First thing. Second, even that fields are out of 20, if you're uploading 10 columns, even in that column, the 10 columns in whatever order you give, I don't bother. Even if you keep this user ID in the first place or third place or last place, no problem. So that flexible this employee central imports are. So now for this user, I'm going to maintain the hire date. So we have given the date of birth as 1985. So let me keep date of hiring as somewhere 1st of March 2007 something, somewhere after 22 years. Okay, same here. Now it is a date, hire date. Again, the same date format as per the logged in user. So she is in English US language. So it's mm/dd/YYYY. Okay, initial days we used to go and find that, guys. We used to go to the settings and see what is the language the user is currently present and all. But these days, on the import place itself, system is giving you that date format recommendation. If I choose employment details, so what is the date format recommendation system is giving? Initial days we do not have it. We used to manually go and check that. Okay, so this is the date format. I want to give the same date, even original start date, professional service date, senior service date, everything. I'm giving the same date. So this, you have the user ID. For that user ID, the different date fields filled in. That's it. Upload it, browse that file. Again, here also you don't have any full purge and all. It's only you have this real-time threshold. The number of records are less than or equal to 10, and if everything is clean without errors, it will get imported. So I'm just clicking on import on the right hand bottom corner. So it will run it, it will check error. So here the error is null is an invalid person ID external. So what it says is person ID external is something I did not give. Did I? Yes, I did not give. I have to fill this. Person ID external is a even in the second file and the third file, in these two files only you get it, biographical and employment details. Same thing you are required to repeat. So whenever again in these files, whenever system is trying to integrate with the other systems, this external column is what system will refer the integration systems. The same like in the basic import file, we have the last columns. Here in this person ID external column is required. So this way system will make sure the mandatory fields are checked or not. Again, select it and click on import. That's it. No more errors and got loaded. Now if we refresh the people profile, this will be replaced with that 2007 March 1st 2007 whatever I'm giving, and the rest all the other fields wherever the date is given, that will also be updated. So here, going for employment details, here it is. Whatever are the dates we have given, March 1st, 2007. So for all the fields, whatever I have given, it is updated. Other fields I did not take in my file format, that are as it is. That is already previously also it is the same thing, that is as it is. So this way, one after the other, one after the other, it's all about preparing the file template with all the fields and uploading, guys. Nothing major difference in this. Okay. Any questions? Okay. So this is how we work with the employee data imports. And on the imports part, we have few points to be discussed, three important points to be discussed. So normally in the interview question specific or certification question specific, three important points to be discussed, out of which two we already know. That is, first is full purge and incremental load, the common regularly used question in certifications, the difference between these two. So we know that full purge is the one that will override the existing data. And now from in your file, whatever you're going to upload, that will be present and the previous data will be completely cleaned up. That is overriding the existing data, full purge. And then incremental load. So incremental load is the one on top of existing records. If you want to have additional, say there are 100, now the 10 what you load will become on top of it and total becomes 110. That is incremental, the pretty simple straightforward one. But make sure that is full purge. Once it is purged, the data got purged, you cannot recover it back at all. Okay, that is about this. Next is synchronous and asynchronous imports. This is just a technical terminology. End of the day, that real-time threshold. If the number of records are less than or equal to 10, it will go as a background import. If it is greater than 10, it goes as a, sorry, if it is less than 10, it goes as a front-end import. If it is greater than 10, it goes as a background import. That is what it says, synchronous or asynchronous. Where the thing which will invoke the synchronous mode is this real time. Based on this real time threshold parameter, system will decide whether it should go as a front end or background import. So which field will revoke that is real time threshold is what we say. That's it on this. And the last point about the data imports is you have this partial import as an option, guys. Partial import. So what does this actually mean is that, say example, you loaded information for say 1,000 or 5,000 or even 10,000, up to you. I mean, based on the employee data of that company, thousands of records are loaded. In say example, there is a file in which there are 20 columns. Okay, 20 columns you loaded for 5,000 users. In 20 columns, one column data has been wrongly uploaded. The data what has to be present in that column, either it is not correctly given or it's mismatched. That is the regular mistake what we do normal in the real time is that, guys, during the data loads, say example, now I have, sorry, I have data for multiple employees, say uploading. Say example, this is for different users. Or else I will say demo March 1 is the employee. You upload, it's March 2, March 3, March 4 for 18 employees I'm loading. Now during this process, whatever I'm maintaining here, when I am just copy pasting the rows from the different files and all, somewhere instead of pasting the data like this, I pasted from this place. The first two rows are missed. I placed like this. So that is where there will be some potential chances during the copy paste and all. So that this value should be in the first row, it came in the third row. This value should be in the second row, it came in the fourth row. So like that, there will be some potential issues happens. So when that has been identified, initially we did not find it. So due to any reason, not only this is one example, due to any reason, say example, the data in one particular field has been identified as there is a mistake. We identified it after say 6 months, we updated, we found it after 1 year, any point of time. Now if we are required to correct the data, so now again, I can't go to each and every record one by one and I can't update it. So I'll again expect 5,000 records to be mass uploaded. So now if that for all the records if I have to mass upload, I need not again prepare the entire file. Again, preparing entire file for 5,000 employees and all is a time consuming thing. Okay, so to avoid that, what we can do is only the date, the user number, the start date of the record, and the actual record what you are required to update. Only that three we will maintain. Other fields can be updated with a parameter called double ampersand, no underscore, overwrite, double ampersand, no underscore, overwrite, double ampersand. This is a standard string. No, yeah. Double ampersand, no underscore override, double ampersand. This is a standard string. So just maintain this in all the other columns. Wherever you say the data need not be changed, keep it as it is. Like that. Whatever system should not change, maintain it as it is. So only for that, for which user, effective which date, what is the data to be changed. Those columns only you maintain. Those three columns. Other things can be kept as no underscore override, such that when you upload the entire file in for this user in this field, this field, this field and all, whatever is the data there, system will not touch during this import process. Only the column where we are uploading the data, that only will be updated. So that way no underscore override is an option which will be called as this partial import. We call it as a partial import process. So no underscore override. So here if you see, this job code is the column that has to be uploaded. Only that is maintained with the data. Start date of the record has been maintained with the data, and the user ID here. The user ID, the first one. Next, the start date of the record and the actual column what I want to update. Only these three are maintained with the data. Rest all are maintained as no underscore override, no underscore override, and all the other columns. Okay, so pardon me for this image quality. That's actually not so visible, but you can see I highlighted only this field is having that some JC as a value. Rest all are no underscore override.
The Excel we are referring to does not have the original start date. I mean, it has the original start date field. It does not have the start date for this change. Let's say there are multiple records created for this employee.
One second, let me complete. First I'm introducing you with the approach. Okay, and this no underscore override thing we will be using for the portlets which are having a start date. The first three files will not have a start date. The first three files what we have imported now, the basic import, the biographical import, and the employment details, they don't have any particular start date kind of. So on these three files it will not work. From the fourth file, job information, personal information, compensation information, from all that files, this process will work. That is what I'm supposed to say. The first three files, except first three files, next all the other portlets level, this will work. So that start date you can use in that files, the employee number, the start date of that record, and what column you want to update. Only that you maintain with the data. Rest all columns you maintain with no underscore override. And during this upload process, we are required to choose obviously incremental load. So on the existing data itself, we are making some updates. So it's where incremental only. And one behavioral difference here in this file is any other imports, if you are uploading 100 records, if there is 10 records errors, 90 will be loaded and 10 will be ending with error. But here in this approach, out of 100, even one single record is error also, entire file will stop. You are required to update, you are required to correct that clearly, and entire all 100 records will be committed at a time into the database. So that is how the behavioral option is the last one. So partial import level, the only question that we regularly accept is what is the parameter that we use? No underscore override with double ampersand. The regularly seen question. So apart from this thing on this import, they did not ask a question in any other way as per my experience, just to give you an idea. So these are the three things about the data loads, some expected questions, and apart from this on the screen level, anything they can ask, and even the order. The initially whatever data loads order is one question regularly, even that comes up in the certification or interview questions level also. This order is something that matters. Okay. So that is about the employee data loads, gentlemen. Any other queries?
is this partial upload. You mentioned
Yeah.
that if there is error uh, in the file, it will show throw an error, right?
Sorry, can you come again? Sorry.
Yeah, the presentation what he showed. I just want to refer to the last line. If you can just show it.
Yeah. So if out of how many records you are loading, if any one single record is found error due to any reason, system will stop the entire loading. You are required to first correct whatever is the error, again upload the
But
entire file, loaded at once only.
we'll get the log where the error is.
Yeah, same like other imports. How the issues system is showing you the log errors either in the monitor job or on the screen. If it is less than 10 on the screen, it will more than 10 in the monitor job it will show.
Fine. Yeah. Thank you.
So that's about the data import, gentlemen. And then next we are required to look towards the business rules. Actually, I supposed to start business rules topics itself yesterday. I just forgot that and I started imports. So business rules level, we only saw two types. One business rule for triggering the workflow and another business rule to have the event reason assigned dynamically through business rules. So apart from those two, we have different other cases where business rules can be used. So in that regard, so first thing is propagation as a concept. We have a propagation as a concept where initially under employee structure level, if we see uh, here, along with the other data models, here we used to have propagation XML file, where this is the one which has been wantedly highlighted just in a simple white color to say that this is the very recently migrated XML file to the front end platform. Till 2019 month of March, April, this is there. So just max, I think it's exactly 2 years sometime. This file has been completely become obsolete. So this is the fifth XML file we used to have. It has been removed. Whatever we used to achieve through this propagation XML file is now handled through business rules logic on the front end. So what does this propagation XML file used to handle is, it's a very small XML file, just only 500 pages. And compared to this succession, corporate and all, which are 30,000, 35,000, this is nothing, just 500, 600 lines it used to be. So what it will do is, in an employee profile, so I open Anya Singh's profile itself. In the job information, we have the org information section where we have this employees, legal entity, business unit, division, department, all that. So in that part, we have location and time zone also has two fields, guys. Here under the org information, location and time zone. Here in this, now if I am going to make any changes on this location, say I go for change job and comp info, same old process, some effective date. So some event reason and all I can select anyways. But now if I'm going to make an employee location change, that might be transfer, whatever you call. So now for the Boston location, the US Eastern is the time zone given. So now if I change this location, say from Boston to say some Chicago something. So when I change it, one second, that they might belong to the same time zone. Let me try another location. Okay, something is not functioning. The business rule not have not been assigned. Just give me a moment, gentlemen. So location. Okay, there is no rule assigned here. Let me just give it a try. I'm not sure whether that rule what I've assigned is also properly coded or not. I'll just check. I'm not sure whether I'm checking a different location or so. Okay, not sure guys. Actually, the concept is that whenever we change the location, system should update the time zone of that location automatically. So based on the data selected in one field, the data in the other field getting auto-populated is the main logic what we achieve through the concept of propagation. So when you see this association as a concept, based on the data selected in one field, the data in the other field will be filtered with applicable values. Say example for corporate as a business unit, these are the divisions. When I choose another, say retail as a business unit, for retail, what are the applicable divisions that should come in the list? System will automatically change the values based on the data selected in one field. The data in the other field getting automatically updated is what the concept we see in the associations. But here, system is not, when it comes to propagation, system is not filtering with the applicable values and all. Whatever is the appropriate value for that field, it is even automatically setting into it. So, but in the association and the propagation, that is the difference. Here for the business unit selected, what are the applicable divisions it will show in the list, I have to select. If I choose some other business unit, for that business unit, what are the applicable divisions that will again show in the list, I have to select it accordingly. But here in this, it's not, we have to again manually select based on the location I change. For that location, whatever is the time zone applicable, it will even auto populate into that field. That is propagation. So initial days association and propagation, they used to call it as a twin concept with a little bit change. Here it will even auto populate, there it will not auto populate, it will just show with the applicable values. And I have to select manually. Here it is auto populated. But this concept, if you see, this is basically we call it as propagation. Whereas similar one, based on the data selected in one field, the data in the other field getting auto populated, we can also see in other places, like when you are hiring an employee, when you choose the employee's salutation is Mr., Mrs., Miss, whatever we enter. If you choose the salutation as Mr., then the employee gender auto populating as male, we can have a business rule. If I choose salutation as Miss or Mrs., system automatically updating the gender as female, that kind of a rule also I can write. End of the day, the logic is almost the same. But the point is, when you are making that kind of a rule on the foundation objects, if the triggering point is a foundation, that is location, if I change, time zone getting updated, location is a triggering point, that is a foundation object. So if the triggering point is foundation object, we call it as propagation. End of the day, it's just a business rule logic, but SF has said, whenever the triggering point is called triggering point is a foundation object, we call it as a propagation concept. Okay, why separately there and here is, initial days when we used to work on XML level before going into business rule, when it used to be part of XML, this foundation object related conditions, they used to keep in propagation XML. Foundation objects normally come from configure object definitions or corporate data model, that level. But when it comes to this auto population logic, they used to maintain a separate XML for foundation object level auto populating thing that is called propagation. Similar concept when you work on this gender and sanitation field, you will place that in succession data model. So two separate places. But now when these things came into the business rules completely, so they found that there is propagation as a separate concept is not required. They are using the business rules as a common platform. So that propagation has been completely removed. So that is how we have, whenever I selected location, time zone getting auto populated, it can be one logic. A similar logic on that employee data fields like salutation, gender kind of a thing can also happen, where there we call it as general business rule as a logic. We don't give any label for that. But for foundation objects level, if it is triggering, they are still calling it as propagation as a separate concept name will be kept for that. Okay, that is theoretically to give you guys an idea. So how do we do that is on a business rule we are required to achieve it. So we'll do it in the tomorrow session. Okay, we'll start with that, where tomorrow's session we will dedicate completely on the different scenarios of business rules. So business rules, whenever we are actually assigning it the business configuration level, guys, we saw that here at the bottom we use this on save as an event. What are the other events? On init, on view, save alert. What are the other events? And one more thing, rules we are assigning at a portlet level at the bottom. At the portlet level, and at the end of the portlet, the trigger rules at the portlet level. Against a field level also, we have an option to assign the rules, trigger rules. Every field level also you can assign a rule. So how that field level rules can be assigned. In fact, this concept of location and time zone thing is an example of field level business rule actually. When I change the data in this field, immediately system will trigger. It will not wait for me to save and do the rest of the things. As soon as I change location, system has to update the time zone immediately. That's on change whenever the data change is happening. That's a field level business rule. So all such other scenarios of business rules we'll start discussing tomorrow. It might be completed tomorrow or it might extend. We'll cover all that cases. Okay. Any other queries?
Yeah, I have a question. Like location is there, the time zone is fixed for that location. So why do we
Okay.
have to write a business rule? Why SAP has not given this, there can't be different time zones for location, right?
Yeah, every location will have a different time zone. So when I choose a different location, when I change from one location to other location, the time zone of that location has to be updated here automatically.
Agreed. So whatever is India's time zone, that will be universal. I mean, say it is not going to change. So why do we have to write a business rule? Why SAP is not giving this uh, predefined?
No, Rupa, the point is this is employee level. Employee in which time zone is what we are trying to convey here. Okay. In India, when you are an employee between Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, Kolkata, whatever, time zone is constant. But in
Yeah.
US, you have 5 time zones. The 50 states of US, 5 different time zones spread across. If you are changing an employee from one state to the other, his time zone can also change. You have multiple time zones in US, US Central, US Eastern, multiple are there. Okay, so that when you're changing an employee, you're transferring an employee, his time zone has to update.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. Thank you.
Yeah. Fine, guys. Any other queries? Perfect. Thank you, one and all. Let's again connect back same time tomorrow. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.